Hello and welcome to Rotor's build guide. This time we're going to talk to you about the T-Rex 500L Dominator. Now this thing was sent down to us by Skyline Models. Really nice bunch of guys, and really nice quick delivery time, and really friendly and really knowledgeable. These guys have been doing it for years. Really good guys. So let's have a look at this model then, see how the build goes. Now the manual is pretty simple. Standard paper line drawings, and you start on the rotor head. So as you can see, the metal works really nice. It goes together really easy. And this is, I mean, the rotor head comes pre-assembled. Main shaft isn't fitted, but the washout arms are on, blade grip arms are on, all the spindles all pre-assembled for you. But you do have to take it apart and Loctite it. Nothing is done up tight, and nothing is Loctited. And also, it's worth adding a bit of grease in there as well. Manual tells you to do it, so definitely do it. Don't forget to do the washout arm bolts as well, and doubly make sure that those all the balls are in and tight and Loctited too for the on the swash plate. Again, all mine were loose. In fact, one of them was loose in the bag as well. So just make sure you check all that. Next up, you move on down to the frames. Now this bit is one of those things that tells you to get the frames together into, you know, two side frames on together at a relatively early stage. So, however, the trouble with that is that it makes getting some of the bits and pieces in there, especially later on during the build, quite tricky. So what I suggest is that you build it dry without any Loctite on it. Put one side frame, put all the bits into one side frame, and then, you know, including things like especially the tail servo and the tail gearbox, the boom mount for the tail gearbox. Get that all in one side frame first, and then once you're happy that you've got all the bits in place, then put the other side frame on. I had a lot of trouble getting the tail gearbox in to the boom. I basically had to loosen off pretty much everything behind the main shaft in order to spread the frames far enough apart to get the gearbox in. Quite a tight squeeze. The one little feature that I really do like, or a couple of little features I really do like, is that the top and bottom main shaft bearings are actually the same thing, just turned upside down, relative to each other. So that's a nice little thing. So if you ever do a bearing or anything like that, all the bearings are the same, and you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. And the anti-rotation mount, although the mount itself, the anti-rotation loop for the swash plate is metal. It's got a plastic insert into it, but also it's mounted into plastic bits in the frame, so it gives you enough flex that you don't need to take it out in order to get the main shaft out to clear the anti-rotation pin. That's quite a nice little feature. There's plenty of space in this thing. There's just hideous amounts of space. Really easy to work on, to get your hands in between the frames. Plenty of spaces to run the cabling. And yeah, so it does go together really nicely and really easily. I did have to mount the G Pro on the lower plate, otherwise there wasn't enough room to run length in the speed controller cable. So yeah, from the mount back down to the G Pro, it's quite tight. Which, if you're going to buy this, I highly recommend you get the Bluetooth link and use your phone to set it up. PC software is really nice, really easy to set it up, but it just adds that extra ease of fiddling at the field. You don't have to sort of bring it back off the flight line to play with a gain or a stop or anything like that. It's really, definitely worth doing. I've been doing it on the PC, and it's a bit of a pain in the backside because you have to switch it off, take it back from the flight line, plug it in, get the get the cable in to the G Pro, and it's trust me, just get the Bluetooth link. It's worth every penny. Now the tail gearbox is a really, again, it comes like you see it here, comes in one piece, but again you need to take each bolt out and thread lock each one. The only things I didn't have to Loctite were the blade grip bolts where they go onto the tail hub. So make sure everything's tight in there. Another really nice little feature on this is the anti-rotation pin that goes into the boom. It's a bit of plastic, as you can see here, that just sticks through a hole in the tail gearbox and then into the boom. It means that you don't have to worry about pinning booms or anything like that. The boom is not going to come out, or tail gearbox is not going to come off the boom. It's just really nice and solid. And and this bit of plastic, when it does eventually wear out, it's a 2p piece to replace it. Nice and simple, nice and easy. So when I build my models, what I generally do is I get the airframe in one piece, and I get the servos mounted and get everything in, and then I connect it all up, as you can see here, just really nice and loosely. So none of the cables routed or anything like that, but the airframe is basically in one piece. Now what this allows you to do is to easily plug all the servos into the right place, plug the receiver in, and then just temporarily power the receiver like I have here with my Scorpion backup guard. So, and what this allows you to do is to work out to get everything connected and get it all working, and then from there you can go, right, well, where am I going to mount it? Because you're not quite sure on the cable routes when you're building it. You don't know, you haven't completely decided which of the mounts you're going to mount the fibre on, or where you're going to mount the receiver or anything like that. And it is a real pain in the backside once you've really nicely mounted something to take the whole model apart and unplug everything and remount it, wasting bits of double-sided tape and all sorts of stuff. So that's what I do. So, and the G Pro software on the PC is really, really nice. Colin Bell has got a good video on using the Android software on a Samsung tablet, and it looks really, really similar. So it'd be really easy to switch between the two. So if you wanted to set it up on your computer at home, and then when you're playing with it down the field, use your Android tablet or your Android phone or your iPhone or anything like that, much easier. And here you can see this is the build after about 4 hours, I suppose. It's pretty much in one piece. Servos are mounted, and it's pretty much good to go. Other than placing the electronics. So once you've got it basically set up, you can then go on and work out where you're going to mount stuff. Now I ended up mounting the G Pro on the lower mount because, as I said before, that's where the speed controller sat, and then that meant that my receiver could then sit. There's enough space under the mount for my Futaba receiver to mount to the bottom frame on the skids, and then to run the receiver aerials down the legs for the skids. And you can actually still get to this because there's so much space. You can still get to the receiver without taking anything apart. You can unplug the S bus, or plug a bit of power in, or if you don't want to power up the speed controller or whatever. So here's the wiring with the G Pro mounted and the receiver in, but nothing tidied up. You can see it's a little bit of a mess under there, and there isn't an awful lot of space between that and the main gear, so you do have to be a little bit careful to make sure your cables stay well clear of the main gear. Servo cables run quite neatly down beside the tail gearbox. It's quite easy and simple to do that. and there's holes in the frame as well for you to zip cable ties through to keep them all away from the spinning bits that are gonna mash it. Nice little slot in the speed controller mounting tray for the wire to go through for the receiver. That's a nice little feature that you don't see very often. And here you can see the speed controller cable going down underneath the main gear, and it's clipped to the frames in a couple of places as well, just to make sure it stays well out of the way of everything. And you can see that there really isn't. There's probably, I've got about, on that speed controller cable back to where it goes into the G Pro, there's probably only about 3/4 of an inch, 20 mil or so of spare cable on that. So it really would not have reached up to the top tray. And that's about it, really. Flight videos coming soon. Stay tuned. But I like the build. The build went really nicely. It's really sensible, nice and easy to do. Plenty of space in the model, and yeah, it's just a nice simple build. The only thing I'd like to see, as ever with everything, is these for these guys to get away from line drawing manuals on paper. With the CAD stuff we've got around today, they'd be so easy to do animations and all sorts of stuff of showing all these bits and pieces come together. Not a problem to build if you've got some experience, but if you're coming to it new, you may struggle to do it on your own, I think. And I always, even if it was possible to do it on your own, well, it's not impossible to do it on your own, but even if it was easy to do on your own, I would definitely recommend getting someone to have a look at it if you've not flown before, to make sure, because there's little common problems that in setups and stuff that everyone gets wrong, and that will never change no matter how good the manuals are. Okay, thank you very much. Stay tuned for flight videos. That will be coming later.